Hello and welcome to the Paletteful Packs YouTube channel. My name is Alice and today I have the July Paletteful Packs Premiere Pack here in front of me. I'm super excited, so let's go ahead, open it up and see what's inside. Yellow, oh my gosh, look at the sticker! So first thing I see on top is this super cute summer vibe sticker. It says Paletteful. It has palm trees and a little paintbrush and it says 2024. Super stoked about this one. And then under here, ooh, I'm seeing charcoal. Move this out of the, oh, there's a lot in here. Oh my goodness, okay. Where do we even start? So the first thing I see in here is this Art Alternatives little set of charcoal pastels. So these guys are super fine compressed charcoal and they're perfect for soft flowing lines and really dark strokes. There's gonna be 3 of them in here. Then I'm seeing this Conte. You're gonna have 4 different colors of the Conte. You're gonna have Sanguine, Bistre, Noir, and Blanc. And Conte is really cool. Conte is kind of like a pastel stick. They're made out of natural pigments, kaolin clay, and graphites. And they have a really soft, smooth kind of drawing quality to them. Then we have a Lyra kneadable eraser. Kneadable erasers are so great because you can kind of squish them around and you can make them into like a fine point or whatever shape you need to. And you can just kind of lift things off. And as you can see, they're super squishy, very cool. Then I'm seeing this really chunky charcoal. So these are by Cretacolor, and these are oversized. They're 18mm diameter, and they're good for like large surfaces and covering like backgrounds. You can also use water with them because they are water soluble, which I love water soluble graphite. Next thing in here is this Fine Art Charcoal by Nitram. So this is for deep, rich black tones. They're breakage resistant charcoal sticks. They're smooth and blend easily. Next thing I see in here is this Art Alternatives charcoal set. So this is in a little tin. It's made from fine compressed charcoal and binders, and it's good for soft flowing lines. This comes with 3. You're gonna have soft, medium, and hard, plus 2 compressed charcoal sticks, 1 hard and 1 soft, and then this little blender comes in like a little tin so you can keep everything organized. There is a variety of different pencils here, so let's go through them. There's gonna be these 3. These are by Stabilo. These are the Carbothello pencils. We're going to get a variety of different grays plus a white. The Carbothello pencils are fine pastel pencils. They're really intensely pigmented. They're light proof, non-toxic, break resistant, super blendable, and they are partially soluble. We have a Wolf's Carbon pencil in 6B. This is basically carbon, so they have a really fine grain with consistent texture, producing nice soft lines, and they don't have any shine when you lay them down on paper, which is pretty nice. There's also a Rembrandt Carbon pencil. This one is extra soft. And then we have this Kohinoor pencil extender. Pencil extenders are great for when your pencil gets really small. The next thing I see in here is actually one of my favorite supplies of all time, and this is the Tombow Mono Zero eraser. These things are amazing. They're 2.3 millimeters, so they're really small and they erase really, really nice fine details. It's also going to come with some refills. So this is a clickable eraser. As you can see, there are the refills here, and you just click on it and the eraser comes right out. So perfect, love these things. Finally, in here, I am seeing some paper, so let's pull that out. So this is the Canson Dry Mix Media paper. It is the sand grain and it is a gray tone, which I love. I love working with grays. So this retains pigments because of its gritty surface to create subtle color effects. It's also easy to erase and you can use both sides. It's specifically designed for dry media like pencils, charcoal, and things like that. Okay, so this is everything you're going to get in the July 2024 Paletteful Premiere Packs. We've got so many things here. We have the Canson Dry Mix Media paper like we just went over. We have the Stabilo Carbothello pencils, the pencil extender. We have the miniature Tombow Mono Zero eraser. We have this Rembrandt Carbon. which is the extra soft. We also have the carbon pencil from Wolf's. We have our big chunky charcoal stick from Cretacolor, our Conte set, our charcoal pastels from Art Alternatives, as well as our charcoal pencils from Art Alternatives, and then our fine art charcoal from Nitram, and not to forget our kneaded eraser and our super cute sticker. So that is everything you're going to get in this month's jam-packed Paletteful packs. So let's go ahead and start playing around with these supplies. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is use this Nitram charcoal, and I just thought this would be nice to start with for the sketch so that it would keep things really loose and kind of gestural. I decided to kind of do not a finished piece, but not a gesture sketch, kind of somewhere in the middle, like a finished gesture sketch of my cat Muse. I had this photo of him laying on his back and he looked really, really cute. So I went ahead and used that as the reference and used this charcoal just to gently sketch in the overall shape of my kitty cat. And I'm keeping things very, very loose, very free with the lines. As you can see, I'm holding the graphite a little bit higher up, a little bit closer to the top, and that's going to give me a little bit more looseness and freedom with this. Also throwing in just a little bit of shading just to kind of start establishing where some shapes are, but I'm really not being too worried about like making everything perfect right now or keeping everything neat. I'm really just starting to throw down layers that I'm going to then build up against. So adding in some more shading and then smudging everything out because I'm going to be building up on top of this, and I just want this first layer to be kind of light. I'm going in with the Art Alternatives pencils, and right now I'm using the lightest pencil to start adding in a little bit of shading, and then I switched to the slightly darker pencil to darken up that shading a little bit more. So this is basically just throwing in more shading in a little bit more of a detailed way, but I'm still keeping it really loose and very sketchy. I really want a lot of the lines to be prominent in this. I don't want this to be this perfectly smooth blended charcoal piece. That's not the aesthetic that I'm going for. I'm going for something that feels very rough and very free and very loose. So I'm really trying to not get caught up in little details, but instead to just work the whole piece and add in these kind of areas of darker shading and then kind of refine from there. So slowly adding in more subtle areas of darker shading, things that are a little smaller that I couldn't quite get with the charcoal, defining the mouth and some of the areas around the chin, using the darkest of the Art Alternatives pencils. So that's going to be the softest one. And then smudging everything out again to create this kind of loose base that I can continue to build up on top of. And then I went in with the dark compressed charcoal also from that set to really lay down some shadows. I liked using this charcoal because I could use the edge of it to create these kind of larger flat areas of shadow, and then I could use the corner to create nice like really small thin lines. So I felt like I had a lot of versatility, and it was pretty nice and dark, but not as black as it could be, which was great because I was looking for a medium dark tone because I still want to be able to build up darker blacks on top of it. So for this, I'm kind of trying to work in a way of like light and soft to dark and detailed. So that's kind of the idea that I'm going with as I work on building this piece up, because I always like to work from large to small, and also working from like more loose to more detailed and then lighter to darker. You can continue to build up those shadows and things like that. I'm also going to add in highlights later, but we'll get to that. So I'm going in with the carbon pencil, with one of the carbon pencils, and I am starting to really establish some of the lines here, just kind of going around the edges, adding in a little bit more shading, but really trying to define some of the actual shapes that I have going on here, and continuing to keep my lines really loose as well. I also want to get in some areas that kind of feel furry and fuzzy, so I'm starting to add in some smaller, more detailed lines with some of the pencils as opposed to the charcoal. And then feeling like I really want some more darks and to darken up areas and really start to push the shadows. I'm going in with the compressed charcoal again to really darken things up, especially on the belly and kind of behind where the paw and the head is, where they're casting that shadow. Now I'm going in with this big chunky compressed charcoal from Cretacolor and really just using this to add in the stripes on the tail, add in some big areas of shading, really darken things up even more. This is really nice for covering large areas, but you can get smaller strokes by using the edge of it, so I found it pretty versatile. I'm going back in to add in some more kind of sketchy lines around the edges with one of the lighter or alternatives pencils, just so that it doesn't get too neat on the edges. And then I'm lightening things up and kind of pulling in some highlights, as well as blending and smudging using the kneaded eraser, just kind of dabbing it and rubbing it around certain areas of the page. And the harder that you use it, the more light it will get. But if you use it just kind of softly, it kind of blends it out as well. So you can kind of use it in multiple different ways in your piece. So I'm really trying to pull out some highlights here, and then I want to start adding in blending, or at least some loose blending. So I went in with the Stabilo, the Carbothello pencils, and using the grays, I started adding in different gray tones. And by adding in these gray pastel pencils on top, it kind of started to blend all the charcoal out and like blend it into one another, and create more uniformity, while still keeping this kind of like loose and gestural look. So I really liked how it was kind of blending everything out, just applying it over the top, and adding in a little bit more diversity of color as well, because you have kind of the charcoal, which is a very neutral gray, and then you have these kind of two-toned grays. One is a little bit more warm, the one I was just using, and then there's also a cooler gray as well, which I use a little bit later. So you can kind of add in a little bit more variety in tones in the grays. I'm also going in with the other carbon pencil, and I am really getting the blacks and the darks in some areas, as well as adding in the little like dots where their little whiskers come out of and things like that. All those good little details. Adding in some little stripes and some more like fuzzy areas and shading. And then I'm going in with that cooler gray pencil, and you can really see the color change that this adds, but it adds a really nice definition and kind of visual interest to the piece, just adding in this slight color variation. I'm using this for slightly lighter areas than the other gray that I used, because this is a little bit more of an eye-catching gray. And then I'm going in with the white and really starting to add in some highlights, and this is where things start to pop and pull together. So this is a really satisfying moment, especially because of how bright and nice and white this pencil is on the paper. I really spent some time with this stage just putting in the highlights, and this is kind of where I started getting in those little loose furs and little patches of hair and things like that, so that he looks nice and fuzzy and furry, and establishing where the light is just kind of hitting him. Really happy about this part. I feel like this is, you know, really where things start to come to life, and it's just a very satisfying moment. Because this paper is gray, you can kind of work with it as the midtone. So then we kind of built up the shadows, and now we're going in and adding those highlights back. So it really helps him pop out from the paper, because the paper itself is that gray paper. So it works really well. Blending in a little bit more with that warm gray pencil to kind of just kind of finish things off and finalize things, make sure that the shading looks how I want it in all of the different areas, and just kind of like finalizing all of those good little details, you know, taking the time to go around, make sure that everything's filled in, there's no little gaps missing. Like I said, I want this to be somewhere in the middle between a finished piece and a gesture sketch, where it retains the freedom and fluidity of a gesture sketch, but has a little bit of time and like shading and such put into it. So I think that I'm pretty happy with like how this came out. I definitely, it's my own cat, so I want to put it in a frame and put it on my wall. I'm using the eraser to erase out where the whiskers are, and then I'm going in with the white to go over the top of them and kind of define them a little bit more. And then I'm also erasing some little light speckles in the eyes, to kind of get that shine on there, and then going back in with some dark and some lights. to kind of make those pop a little bit more. And then I'm using the Conte in the Sanguine to add in a little bit of red just to the inside of the ears and a little bit to the eyes, lightening that back up with the white, just so that the eyes have a little touch of color. And then the inside has that nice little pinky color. I would have added it to the nose, but my cat has a gray nose, so I kept it with how he actually looks. But I love this little pop of color. I think it's really nice. It's still a very neutral color, but it just adds a little something to the piece. Finally, adding in some white in the background because I really wanted him to kind of pop off the page. And so right now he's hanging out on the page and he looks good, but I really wanted it to kind of feel like he was, I don't know, not just sitting there. So I went around the whole thing with this white, and I feel like it made it feel like he was part of a whole piece, and really popped him kind of like off the background and made it more evident that he was an actual gray cat. So the Conte worked great for this because you can lay it down flat really easily. It's also really opaque and covers really well. So I just laid it down, and then I used the clean blending stump that came with the Art Alternatives pencil set to go around and blend everything together so that it was a little bit smoother. I didn't want to make it super smooth because, again, we're going for that gestural loose look, but I did want it to be blended together a little bit. So yeah, that was my last step pretty much, and I'm really happy with how this piece came out. I think it's really cute, and I hope that you guys liked it too. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to get your own Paletteful Packs box, then you can click the link in the description box below to join us and get a fun box full of art goodies every single month. Thank you so much again for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Bye!